Alright everyone, today we are looking at Europe around 1492, which was a good year. The map you have on your screen right now is from 1482, so 10 years before the voyage of Columbus. If you look, it's pretty much Europe is in the top left, which is quite clear. You have Northern Africa, it is labeled, and then you have it gets progressively a little more wonky. But this is how Europeans saw the world. They saw the world like this in 1492. They did know it was round, contrary to many thoughts that Columbus was the only one that knew the world was round, but most intelligent people did know it was round. So Europe around 1492. Well, the social structure was pretty set, and it was as such. Most people, they were peasants. So peasants were lowest in the social order. They worked on farms in rural agricultural areas, and they're very poor. They really don't, if they have any money, they don't have much. Most people just did not have money. So peasants are lowest. Then you have knights. Knights at this time, they are really doing a lot of the fighting, keeping order. And above the knights, you have the nobility. The nobility, they are certainly high up. They have a lot of money, wealth, prestige, and they're the ones that have a lot of the power, namely because they own land. Land at this time, if you owned land, you had power. And the ones with the most power, well, of course, were the kings. As you can see in this image, you have a king with a lot of jewelry, fine clothings, and is quite fat. Wealthy people wanted to eat, so you see a lot of wealthy people that are certainly higher weight. Also going on in Europe is you have two main religions. So first off, we have Christianity. Christianity has been around for a long time, and around the 12 and 1300s, you start seeing the Crusades. You have these knights. You can see them in this image. You have these knights going off to spread Christianity to the world, to all those pagans, all those Muslims around the world. In this image, you see some of the knights on the crusade with some Muslims. And they're not just going to the Middle East, they're also going to places like Spain. Spain was mostly run by Muslims in the 1400s, and the Christians removed the Muslims. Mostly they go to North Africa. So you have this kind of battle between the Christians and the Muslims. However, during this time, you also have the popes. This is one of the popes, and they start losing a lot of power. Since they're trying to spread Christianity so much, their power also diminishes since they're spreading out. So you see really the power and the view of the church, how people see the Christian church diminishes. People don't think of it as highly as they used to. And with that, last year you learned about the Protestants. So you have Martin Luther. Here's a picture of Martin Luther pinning his theses on the door of the church. So you have the rise of Protestantism, which is big. It now starts competing with Christianity, and you start having monarchs now taking more power than the Pope. The Pope usually had a lot of power, but now that they see that the Pope really has lost a lot of power and they have their own religions, you have these kings and queens who are vastly powerful. So all these changes also go along with the fact that the population is growing immensely. If you look at this chart here, this is the world population growth. And if you look on the right, where the last labeling is, you have the Renaissance, the European Renaissance. And population starts growing almost exponentially. So you have all of these people living in Europe and land that they had always lived on, but now a lot of people are getting pushed off of that land, and they have to provide more things for them. Also, you have a lot of wealthier people arising. With so many people, you have to provide goods. So you have a merchant class which arises. And if you look, well, hold on. If you look in this image, you have some merchants with some very, they're buying pots and plates and looks like some jewelry. So you have these people that can afford luxuries, luxuries that normally they weren't able to afford. And since people want to buy new things, people like new things, they start really going to other places. And to help travel and help exploration, you have the Renaissance. The Renaissance is a time where there's a great interest in the world, in increasing human achievement. So you have these globes that are being made. People are looking at maps, trying to study the stars, understanding the world around them. And with that, it allows people to travel further than they had before, on ships and by land. And a lot of it initially goes on the Silk Road. The Silk Road connects the Asian continent with Europe. So you have people now trading with India. You have people trading with China, and they're bringing new goods. They're bringing new animals. They're bringing new foods. And one of the big foods that people want is spices. People love spices because it makes their very bland, their very boring food interesting. It makes eating so much better. And as all of you know, we all eat. And if people could add salt and pepper to their food, as many of us do, it makes it better to eat. So people start demanding spices, especially from India and spices from China. So on the Silk Road, a lot of this flows. You also now have increased ships. So you have these more advanced ships that can travel longer distances and carry back more goods. Traveling by land, it goes pretty slow. You have horses that need to stop and eat. You have elephants, or we have some camels here. Whereas ships, they can keep sailing. All you need is wind. So ships now, people start sailing around Africa, and they go all the way to Asia. And one of the main people that's in really opens up this world of sailing is a man named Prince Henry. They also call him Henry the Navigator. Now, Henry the Navigator, he founds a sailing school, and it sponsors some of the first European sea voyages. He's Portuguese, he's from Portugal, and he really starts exploring the west coast of Africa, and from him, traders start sailing to the Indian Ocean around Africa. They start bringing back all sorts of new items, products, and it increases trade, and people are making money. Kings are making lots of money, merchants are making lots of money. So suddenly Europe, they have a lot of people now, and they have a lot of wealth. And as with anyone that has wealth, they always want more.